For many years now, Russ and Craig have had many wide-ranging conversations with folks from all over the gaming world. This is one of those conversations.
D6G, the Lost Chapter.
So, what do you got there, Russ?
Today I'm trying out another Boston cream. It's been a while since I had a Boston cream donut, so I'm having a Boston cream and a little coffee. So
Have you tried the Father's Day donut?
I have not. What is in the Father's Day donut?
I have no idea. I just saw a picture of it as I walked in, and I thought, you know what? I really, really, really want. Wait a minute. Is that Pat Lewis over there?
I think it is. Is he painting
from the Mantic booth? I think he gave me the demo, my Deadzone demo, that caught me to. I've spent more money than I even want to possibly think about on Deadzone. Said, Pat, how you
What's
doing,
going on, guys?
Hey, have a seat.
What are you eating there?
I got myself a little blueberry and an apple fritter.
Ooh, good choice.
Ooh, nice. Going outside the box on that.
I like it.
You know, sometimes you gotta. That fritter is something good.
That is true.
The fritter
is
good.
very true.
There's nothing wrong with the fritter. It's all right.
Now, interestingly enough, Russ and I have been spending an awful lot of time chatting and talking about Deadzone, of course, and we reviewed it for the show. But the thing that we keep talking about that's cool is this sort of the interesting and unique fluff, and that we're not talking about a eternal war and gothic blah 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 and grim dark blah blah blah, and how nice and refreshing it is to be in a different universe that's full of war and death and mayhem. And Pat, since we have you with us, we thought, why don't we talk a little bit about the fluff of Deadzone? And of course, that includes the fluff of Dreadball, and because that takes place in the same universe, and the fluff of Warpath. And so, could you give us like a quick sort of rundown first about sort of the basics of where we are in this universe? Like, what's the overview, if you will, of the galactic situation at the start of the Deadzone story arc?
All right, basically, what you have is the Coast Prosperity Sphere. And that contains all the basic core worlds and all the corporations. The corporations are led by a council of 7 from the 7 bigger corporations, and those people basically dictate policy.
And these are humans,
no one really
right?
knows who they are. They're just shadowy figures that show up on the screen every once in a while.
And they're all human.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So are humans sort of dominant in the galaxy?
I wouldn't say dominant, but they are the ones with the most stuff.
Okay.
Stuff is cool. That's what they do.
Yes.
It's hey, he who dies with the most stuff wins.
That's right.
They have the most stuff, but they're not the most technologically advanced stuff. That belongs to the Forge Fathers.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, cool. Well, we'll get to the Forge Fathers in a bit.
Yes.
So
we have the Cold Prosperity Sphere.
Yep.
That's where basically what I'm going to say civilization lives. Then you have everything outside that. That's kind of the frontier where the corporations are sending ships out to mine, to find different worlds, to colonize different worlds, to expand their corporation holdings, which in turn will expand the co-prosperity sphere.
Right.
And what are they like? I read the entire Deadzone anthology, which I enjoyed. And I can't remember the term for it. There's numbered. Are they spheres, or like the third sphere, the third expansion, the fourth expansion? Are they broken down that way?
Yes.
And I think
depending
now
on when, I forget where we're at now. I'll be honest with you.
The number
7?
8 is floated. Yeah, 7 or 8 is floating.
I got 7 in my head.
All right.
Okay, so somewhere between 7 and 8, and so. Like the first sphere is like the core world. The first, actually, probably first 2, 3, or maybe even 4, the core worlds. And then the further out the spheres get, the more primitive they are in relation to the others because they're newer colonies.
Yes.
Very cool.
Right.
And then, so basically where Deadzone is happening now is basically happening outside in the fringes.
On the edge worlds.
Yes. Where some of what is happening is now is the corporation is finding these old artifacts that emit a strange radiation, which changed the humans into what is now the plague.
Nothing good coming to that.
No, not at all, because the plague, all they want to do is kill.
Yeah.
So these artifacts are from a progenitor race, right? An earlier.
Yes, they're not sure. Some of the writings out there now are leading to I want to call the puppeteer race that is controlling the Asterians.
Yeah.
That's.
But we don't know all this yet.
We don't know that. We do and we don't. It's through the writings, but you can't confirm that that's happening.
Got it. Interesting. So that's going on, and when these artifacts are found, now they want these artifacts, right? Because there's cool technology.
Yes, because it's technology that no one's seen before.
Right.
But the downside of that is turning all the humans into plague. So when that starts happening, what do? They start a containment protocol, which basically is just annihilate the planet.
Right.
And everyone on it. And that area space around that planet is called the Deadzone.
Right. And the Deadzone says you cannot, they basically they quarantine the entire thing.
Yeah. Picket lines, no ships can go through.
Right.
Even to the point where they wipe the planet off any star maps.
But they don't actually destroy the planet. So they block it out.
No, they destroy everyone on it. They don't destroy the planet because they still want the resources.
Because they want the planet's resources and they want the artifacts.
Yes.
But they don't want anybody there to live to tell the tale, right?
That is correct.
So it's a mysterious thing because it seems like it's for your own good, but they block the thing. But the thing about it is when that Deadzone gets set up, right, all of a sudden it goes into chaos because there's no law or order or government being enforced or anything like that happening.
Yes, because if you're on that planet, you can't get off.
Right. So
you're pretty much stuck, and it's survival of the fittest down near them.
Yeah.
It's
ugly.
Thunderdome.
It's Thunderdome.
But meanwhile, people, so these things get blocked out. This is Deadzone. It's typically because there's plague. Do they only set up a Deadzone when there's plague, or are there a variety of reasons why they might Deadzone a planet?
They Deadzone only when there is confirmed plague contaminants.
Got it. So we know there's plague there. So the Deadzone's called. The citizens are panicking. And so first guys on the scene, the early responders would be the enforcers?
Actually, the first guys are the scouts.
Oh, okay. Right.
The scouts are just numbered.
Okay.
They're like kind of cyborg-ish kind of guys.
Oh, cool.
They implanted with a lot of electronics in their body. And they go and either are hunting plague or confirming that there is a plague presence.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
And once that is confirmed by the scouts, then the enforcers come in and lock the planet down.
Now, if they come in and they decide that there is no plague presence, do they lift the Deadzone? It's like, oh, well, our bad, but you're Deadzone anyway. Can that happen?
Usually they don't put the Deadzone on until they know for sure.
Oh, I see. So if there's suspicion, they send the scouts in. Scouts come back and say, yep, we got some plague here, and then the enforcers show up and put the police tape up.
Yeah, that's one of the coolest stories is that the guy who discovers the what's going on Nexus Psi.
Yes, actually, and for those who don't know, there is a ebook out with a bunch of short stories.
Yep.
Available on Digital Magic.
Called Containment Protocol.
Right.
And and basically, Russ, what happened was they sent a scout down and he set up like a dead man switch. Mm-hmm. And if he doesn't go back and turn it off, it sends the signal up to quarantine the planet. And then he goes out and investigates, knowing that if something happens to him, then then the signal will get sent. And if he sees something and he gets out, then he'll be able to send the signal himself. So it's kind of like, and what he ends up doing is like, oh yes, this is very bad. And he goes off on his own mission, knowing that the thing's going to send itself on its own.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. But very, very cool. Yeah.
It's a good story.
If you don't know that Nexus Psi is a Deadzone, then you're not really thinking straight.
Yes.
Right. That's awesome. So then he alerts, the scouts alert to the fact that there's a problem. The corporations say, yep, it's a Deadzone. They put the police tape up, the virtual police tape around the whole planet. And then the first guys on the scene after that would be the actual enforcers, right, to come and start wiping things out?
Yes. They establish, I guess, what you call the beachhead. And then they go out to start exterminating all life because you never know who's going to be infected.
So that introduces our first two factions, the enforcers and the plague. So let's talk about the enforcers. So how would you describe the enforcers faction?
Enforcer faction, I would call them the I don't want to use police because I guess I would just call them the corporation Marines. These guys are the hardcore, no questions asked killers.
So they're power armored super soldiers, basically.
Yes.
Yep.
These guys are so secretive group, the enforcers, that no one even knows their face because they're always in a mask, in a helmet.
Yep.
So no one knows what's happening outside of them.
Got it.
Being
awesome.
Just an enforcer. So you get
and
done, you go home, and you don't. You could be living next to an enforcer, you might not even know it.
And who do they serve?
They serve the corporation.
They serve the corporation, or do they serve the Council of Seven?
The Council 7, essentially.
I gotcha. I have no idea. They could be the same thing.
Well, the Council of 7 is also corporation.
Right. But
right. It's all the court. Now, the Council of Seven, though, aren't they sort of like you said, shadowy overlords that nobody really knows, and they kind of like live outside the law and they create the law, and they're sort of like looking out for their own best interests as much as they, or if not more than, the interests of the co-prosperity sphere.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. Just it's almost like a Machiavellian council.
Yeah, I love it.
We are working together. Unless this is going to benefit me more than you.
Unless we're not. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
First among equals.
Yes.
And the enforcers are sort of their special forces kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. They're the SEAL team, the Marine Recon, the Delta Force of the Council.
You do not want to mess with them.
Yeah, they're super elite, high-tech super soldiers, right?
I love them.
Yes.
Awesome.
They get the good stuff.
They all have jetpacks. They all have super cool power armor. Most of them have some kind of laser sword thing in their wrist, right?
Oh, well, close. That guy's in the ranking guys.
Right.
Yeah.
And they have cool guns and all kinds of variety of weaponry. They're pretty awesome. Sniper rifles, you name it, they got something, right?
Yeah, they got all the coolest toys.
So they're awesome. So they're there to take out the plague. So let's talk about the plague a little bit. How do they? What's their background? I mean, what are they all about?
Well, the plague are basically, for lack of a better term, I'm going to call space zombies.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
These are basically what happens is that these in the beginning, when the first artifact was found, the miners brought it up and started to change. Mm-hmm. And there are 3 stages. The first stage, you become this giant honking beast,
right?
That does nothing but to kill. And he's also the first line spreader of the disease. I guess is that a word, spreader? Vector.
Sure, it is now.
Vector.
Yeah.
Vector's good.
Vector's good. Yes. Typhoid
he's
Mary.
The first line vector. Yeah, he's the typhoid Mary.
Right.
And then what will happen then is he will infect more people, and those will become what we are labeling stage 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They're not as beefy. They retain a little bit more intelligence. They're not bestial. They are still bestial, I should say, but they're not. It's more like, I guess, the Hulk. You can
right.
make a few words, but you still want to smash.
Uh-huh.
They are also still a vector.
Yeah.
When they infect someone, though, they infect other humans to make them stage 3s.
Right.
Stage 3s are more zombie-looking. They're not as bony, but they also retain more of their intelligence, which allows them to manually operate vehicles, shoot weapons. There's even a special character who's still a scientist.
Very cool. Very cool.
And so that's how they can. That's where the danger comes in of them going from one planet to the next.
Yes.
Also.
The stage 3 are not vectors, though. They can't infect anyone.
Right.
Just the stage 1s and 2s.
Right. And so the lower the number, the nastier they are in terms of just evilness, in terms of power. Like Hulk.
You're either full on brute or you are cunning.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's awesome. So that's the plague. So the planet's locked down. The enforcers are there trying to clean the plague up so that the corporation can get all the artifacts and whatever their loot is left there. So that would be a 2-faction game, except that there's all these other factions that are coming there. But why the heck are they coming to a lockdown planet full of plague guys? So what is the incentive for these other factions to come and check out the Deadzone?
Well, the rebels are there, which is the third faction.
Right.
The rebels are there because they hate everything the corporation and the Council of 7 stand for.
Uh-huh.
They see through the lies. They see through the corporate living, and they're there on the planet because they know it's a dead zone now. There's just a wealth of stuff to take.
Right.
So they're there to take what they can to continue their fight.
So they're scavenger. They're like a ragtag fugitive bunch of guys.
Yes, they're fighting the corporation marines and the enforcers on other worlds, and they need to be resupplied. Mm-hmm. So they go to dead zones because they know there's a bunch of stuff left, untouched, and minimal resistance. When I say minimal, it's really not, because it's plague and enforcers there, but you don't have to worry about other people trying to stop you.
Right. So exactly. So these guys they're not just human. They're a conglomeration of humans,
of many races,
other different factions. Yep, the races as well. And so they come in and they're mostly scavenger related. What are some examples of the different types of aliens involved with them?
Well, there's the Craw. Yeah. It's a winged beast. Mm. There's the Grogan, which are kind of, I don't want to call them trolls, but they're troll looking. But they hold a lot of the twins. There's, of course, humans. Mm-hmm. And I cannot remember the name of that race now, who runs on his feet.
I forget. That's good. Look back to it.
I'm going to cheat and look at my book.
Okay, fair enough. So they're all working together to deal with the corporations, and they've all been oppressed by the corporations in the past, and so they're working to overthrow or at least counteract a lot of what the corporations are up to. And the Council of Seven is up to. That's very cool.
Yes.
Yep.
And they're more low tech, so they're going to come in with numbers, well, cheaper, guys and lower tech guys, but they're also going to be working on sneaking and stealing more than they.
Yes, they're going to be less armored.
Yep.
They're not going to have all the higher tech weapons, the higher tech guns. It'll be a little more tech, but it'll still be just as deadly.
Oh yeah, they got giant teleporting space turtles, so you can't go wrong with that.
Well, you can't go wrong with it.
Oh yeah, and there's the Teratons that are part of the rebel group.
Exactly right.
And don't forget the Z. Never forget the Z as a rebel.
Yes.
The tiny little Jawa men.
They're clone chimpanzees.
Yep.
That's awesome. So,
and the Indige. The Indige are important. The red guys that go fast.
Oh yeah. The looking. I don't know how to describe them. They look like lion tails.
Yeah, they look like red
monkey, tiger, or cheetah mixes.
Yeah, they look like red bothans to me.
And we can say too that the plague is not just humans. The plague can infect other factions and races. So what you see is, for example, the turtles there's a plague turtle running around there, and other
there's
guys
a plague turtle.
Yep.
And to segue into the next faction, then I guess the only race right now immune to the plague is the Marauders,
the orcs.
Or the orcs.
Yeah, so they are immune. Now, why are the orcs there?
Well, the orcs are there mainly because, the little history of the orcs, though. The orcs were the fighting force of the corporation long before the enforcers.
Right.
They were hired, they were trained, and so they've become a really militaristic kind of a race.
Right.
They're very, very disciplined. And then as the corporation grew, the corporation grew, they became more human-centric.
Yeah.
And started replacing the orcs with the enforcers.
Well, didn't a couple things happen there? And I could be wrong. That happened, and then also the orcs started to kind of fight back. They kind of
they
used the humans to get
were,
their knowledge.
Why am I fighting for you? When you're taking all the stuff?
So as two things happened. The orcs started thinking like, why would I work for you? And I've learned all from you I can. And meanwhile, the corporations are kind of seeing that and also going, oh crap. Plus they wanted to be more human focused anyway. So they kind of parted away. They kind of used each other as long as they could.
They parted ways somewhat amicably because they still use Marauders.
Right.
Sorax.
Yes, but Marauders are there mainly because now they've become pirates in a sense.
That's right.
Very nice.
Pirates, people. It doesn't get any better than that.
Exactly.
It does not.
And we all know where this goes.
Yes, exactly. It goes to awesome. Okay, is where it goes.
And so they see an opportunity to get stuff.
Yep.
Not to resupply, but because they want it.
Right.
And they know it's easier for them because they know they can't be infected.
Right. They're immune to the plague, so they're not even worried about that stuff.
Yes.
And they still got to kill the plague people because they get in their way. But
definitely.
Cool. So that's the four primary factions: your enforcers, your plague, your marauders, which are your orcs. And the orcs have, of course, a couple different guys in there. They got their main, your standard issue commandos. Or you might have called them boys back in the day, right? They're regular dudes. But then they've got their war boss. They got their smarty war boss kind of guy. Then they've got They got their Ripper suits, which are just giant orcs in armor, which is all good.
Yes.
Then they've got a lot of goblins.
Covered in guns.
Yep. They got goblin snipers. They've got, what are the dogs called? I forget.
Maw beasts.
Maw beasts who have chainsaws for mouths. You can't
or bombs strapped to their backs.
Or both. Why not? Because,
yes.
just kick it up a notch. And then you've also got who's the giant? The Hulk, right? He's literally called the Hulk. The giant.
Yeah, they're called Hulks. I guess there's 3 levels of orcs.
Yeah.
There's the Hulks, which are the big giant brutes.
Right.
Then you have the regular orcs, which comprise most of that race.
Yeah.
And then you have the goblins.
Right. And they even have a little goblin crude tank as well, like a mortar system there.
A little goblin
track
tank
vehicle,
that can launch across the board.
Which is awesome. So the Marauders have fun, cool stuff, and they are probably the wackiest of the factions in terms of a lot of randomness going on in there, which is nothing wrong with that. They're orcs. So
yes, that was something I was glad to see.
Me too, as an orc player from old days. So that's great. So those are the 4 main factions, but now you guys got 2 more coming out soon. Do we know the fluff yet for the Asterians?
Not so much a whole lot other than the Asterians, the space elves.
Yep.
Again, it's been alluded to that they are basically the slave race of another.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I hadn't used slave race, but they are controlled by
something else. Right?
Something else. You don't know. It could be the people who made the artifacts.
Now, the Asterians, do they exist in a Warpath to the point where we would know something about them, or no?
No.
Okay.
Asterians came through Dreadball.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Very cool. All right.
And then the next race coming. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So the Asterians, they don't feel like it when you're facing them, though. You're not really facing mostly Asterians. You're facing, what are they called? Ciphers?
Yes, ciphers. Yes.
And what are those? Or they're not warriors. What are they? Are they robots? Are they drones? I was confused in the fluff in the anthology a little bit by that.
Yeah, honestly, I'm a little. It hasn't been determined yet.
Okay.
We don't know yet, Craig.
It's part of the mystery. They could be robots. Okay. They could be drones.
Gotcha.
Very cool.
So I guess as time goes by, we'll let more out.
There you go, and that's cool because if you're a dying space elf race, why would you fight?
Right.
Exactly.
You would send your robots and or drones.
Right.
Exactly.
That or you get really good. So that's
carry on.
That's that's good. That's the Asterian. So then the another race coming out really soon, and this is probably going to be my second faction, Craig. Just saying.
This will be my 4th faction.
How can you not have all the factions? Let's be honest.
Because I don't. I for some reason, and I know I had a big giant orc army at one point.
Yep.
The orcs didn't catch me as much as the other 3 did.
That's okay. You can see mine on the other table killing your dudes. It's fine.
Yeah, I know. I've seen it before. Thanks.
I
haven't. I've seen a friggin' dog kill my dudes. That's what I've seen.
You're not worthy to fight my orcs. You can't even deal with my dog.
Exactly. We'll hang back and die while the dog wins the game.
Right.
For us.
Exactly. That maw beast is something else.
If a dog with a bomb strapped to his back can kill your whole army, you got some training to do. Okay, it's the same.
Yeah.
All right.
Or climb higher.
Right.
Exactly.
Climb
That's
higher.
the key.
That's a good motto for Deadzone. Climb higher. Okay, so then you got the Forge Fathers, who, as listeners might imagine, are in fact the Space Dwarves. So what's the scoop on them?
Yeah, now they are in Warpath, so give us some juice.
Yes. Yeah. Well, basically Forge Fathers. They're I'm going to call one of the Elder race. They're still plentiful, but not as many as humans. They have a tentative relationship with the corporation. They understand that we need to trade with them to make money, but we don't feel like we need to help them in anything.
Got it.
They're the longer of the living races, along with quote unquote the Asterians, maybe. They are craftsmen with technology. So they have the very best armor. They have the very best guns.
Cool.
And better ships, things like that.
Very cool. So are they going to be the highest tech race, even with the Asterians coming out? Or are they, because typically in a lot of these universes, the elves are sort of the overlords for technology point of view. Is the Forge Fathers really going to keep that, or is it going to be sort of different kinds of technology each race accelerates in?
At this point, All we know is that the Forge Fathers are the highest tech level right now.
Oh, cool. All right.
Asterians might show that they are on par, but we haven't got to that far yet.
And the Forge Fathers have what kind of, give us some examples of some of the unit types they can field out there.
They have.
Do we know them all? I know they have.
They have the Drakkar teams,
yeah,
which are basically your standard power armor guys.
Yep.
They have. I think they're called Stormforge, which are the heavy weapon guys.
Yep.
Cool.
They have all the good stuff. Valkyr is the, I guess we'll call it Dreadnought suit.
Yep.
That they run around. They have the. Oh, I can't even remember the name of the gun now.
BFG.
I've been calling it Thunderfire Cannon for so long now that I forgot what it's called.
Thud gun?
Yes, I will call it
sort of like
bring back nostalgia.
The quad cannon.
Yeah, they have the giant quad mobile tracked cannon that runs around.
Uh-huh.
That's pretty good. But they are just almost all armored. Almost as armored as the Enforcers.
And they have some bikes coming out in the near future too, right?
Yes, there will be a bike, and coming out in July will be the Valkyr.
Yep.
Cool.
Very cool. So they look awesome also. So they're your sort of your stocky and high tech dwarves in space, which is just awesome. That's going to be great. I can't wait to see how they play.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a must for me.
It is a must. And they again, these are going to be great, great for both people who are hardcore painters to really dig into, but also someone who just wants an easy dry brush because they're all armored dudes, but they're going to look great both ways.
I'm sorry. I did leave one thing out for the Asterians, though. You will see a jet bike for them.
Oh, nice. Nice. You can't go wrong. That's going to look great on this table, flying over all the... Oh, that's going to look awesome. And then last but not least, it's not its own faction, but there are also mercenaries in this game that are all sort of special characters, if you will. I guess the way to describe them. I don't know. Maybe is that really a fair way to say them? Where they're all personalities that can join the various factions, right?
Yeah, it's I guess for lack of a better term, we'll call them star players.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
They're little fluff characters that you can add to your army to give it a tighter theme. For example, you have Nemrath, who's for the Asterian. Basically, he is what one of the called the Shudavars, they call him.
Yeah.
Basically, what a Shudavar is, for lack of for easier description, is basically a commissar of the Asterian army.
Nice.
They watch the leader, make sure they don't fight. They don't want to in any way engage in combat. They just want to see how the leader is making decisions, how he's handling it. If he's not handling it correctly, then he will take over command.
Nice. That's a really cool idea. You don't think of commissars with elves. It's kind of cool. And I can see I can just imagine how the mechanics would work with him for changing your command cards or anything else like that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Then you'll get a special. There will be a special sergeant for the Enforcers.
Yeah.
Almost every faction will get a new mercenary.
Yep.
Very
cool. That's awesome. So that rounds out pretty much the whole, as we know it, what's currently available for Deadzone in terms of factions, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, do you have any kind of insight into what else might be on the horizon for Deadzone as far as factions? As any rumblings, maybe?
At this point, no. We are things are shifting to the next Kickstarter.
Right.
Cool. Well, that's awesome. So, Pat, thanks for sharing this with us. I just think that
it's such a cool world.
It really is a cool universe. It's easy to get into it and get immersed. It's straightforward enough where you can sort of understand the politics, but there's enough depth there that you can have a few short stories about it. You can really dig into it and really get into the fluff and role play how your factions might react to each other when they meet on the battlefield. It's really nice.
Yeah, definitely. It's a fresh look.
Yeah.
It's almost like the politics of today, if you really want to think about it.
Yeah, right. It's awesome. Well, thanks, Pat, so much for taking time to join us here in Dunkin' Donuts. And,
absolutely.
Fill us in on
thank
the
you for having me.
We love it.
Yeah, we're getting strange looks from the guy behind the counter, so we better wrap it up.
You got it.
So, all right. Well, thanks again, and enjoy your blueberries there.
Thank you.
And we'll see you on the big show next week.
You got it. I'll be there with bells on.
Awesome.
Thanks, Pat.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks for purchasing a D6G Lost Chapter. Supporting the show helps it grow.